You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today we're going to be talking to the one and only Jo Piazza. She is the new host of the new amazing podcast by iHeart Radio. It is the Pod Club, and you know her, man. She's an award-winning journalist, editor, and podcast host. Her work has been appeared in so many platforms: New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNN, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to say welcome to Miss Jo. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing, Shamaya?
All is well, man. So this amazing new podcast is unique. You're getting the official scoop of established and newcomers. So what are your experience so far?
So far, I have to say, making the Pod Club has been so much fun. Honestly, I've been making podcasts for 4 years now. So obviously people come to me for recommendations. And it made me realize there are so many podcasts out in the world these days, but it's not always easy to find the one that's right for you. So I wanted to create a podcast about podcasts, which I know sounds a little ridiculous, to help people find the podcast that they're going to love. And we interview interesting people every week about their favorite podcasts. But I think what makes it really special is we play a little snippet of the podcast in each episode. And I think that helps because you're in audio, you know how this goes. You know if you're going to like something if you listen to a little bit of it. You know what you're going to turn off. And we give that time back to you because we're letting you listen to it right here. And we're letting you know when you start a podcast that you're really going to enjoy it. And the response so far has been amazing. People are telling me they are finding podcasts they never would have found before with the Pod Club. And especially, I think podcasts, except for most news podcasts, are so evergreen. And there's been so much great content created for the past 10 years. So we want to bring to the forefront some podcasts that you might not know about that were made 6 months ago, made a year ago, made 5 years ago, because they're all still so good. But the way that the media reports on things, they only care about things for a real hot second. And there's podcasts that you just might not even know existed.
And this is a great cheat sheet for any host because you're getting so many perspectives and so many deep dives in different areas. What's some of the most interesting tips or just reviews that you have seen so far or just heard from people that have been on your show?
Well, our pilot episode of the Pod Club had Malcolm Gladwell on, the best-selling author and host of the podcast Revisionist History. And we talked to him. I could have talked to him for hours, but his episode is just incredible. And then this week we had Nora McInerny, who is the host of a podcast I love called Terrible. Thanks for asking. She recommended some really, really great episodes to listen to. And then we had Janine Rubenstein, the host of People Every, the daily podcast from People Magazine, which is my go-to daily podcast. And Janine and I talked all about which celebrity podcasts are worth listening to and which are not.
And that's a good segue because there's a ton of content out there. It's hard to navigate which one you want to listen to, which one you want to try out. Have you had a new favorite podcast recently that you go to now?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Absolutely. So I will say that I had not listened to People Every Day until right before I had Janine on the show. And People Every Day is now one of my go-to podcasts. I also had never listened to the Aack Cast from Jamie Loftus, which is actually a podcast all about the Kathy comic strip, but it's so much more than that too, which is one of my favorite podcasts from last year. I also discovered Lili Anolik Once Upon a Time at Bennington College, which is a crazy, crazy storytelling podcast about Bennington College in the 1980s, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and some really famous authors behaving very badly. So all of those have been incredibly fun. And it's also just such a treat to get to hear what other people are listening to and how they're listening to podcasts. I love to hear how and when people are listening to podcasts.
Once again, we've been talking to Jo Piazza, and she's the host of the Pod Club. That is your inside scoop. You want to listen to that. Once again, that's provided by iHeart Radio. I want to say thank you, Jo, for taking time out of your busy schedule. And what would you want to tell the audience before we leave?
Well, first off, I want everyone to give a listen to the Pod Club. But the best thing about it is that we have such a variety of different podcasts. So if you're at all intimidated about starting podcasts, every episode definitely has a good starter podcast for you. We ask every guest what their starter podcast recommendation is. Like, what's a good podcast to get people into podcasts? So even if you're a podcast newbie, the Pod Club will definitely have something for you.
Once again, thank you, Ms. Jo, for taking time out of your busy schedule. You have a great day.
You too. Bye, Shemaya.
I Am Refocus Radio is brought to you by Foo 4 Star and Holy Crab. Foo 4 Star is a family-owned Asian restaurant in San Antonio, Texas. We have been a local favorite for Asian cuisine for over 10 years. With nothing but full smiles and fast service, you'll be leaving satisfied. Come on in for some authentic Vietnamese food. Holy Crab is one-of-a-kind Cajun Creole-style seafood restaurant located in Universal City, Texas. We offer traditional seafood items as well as chicken and steak. We also offer seafood boils. Come give us a try. You won't be disappointed. You can find these two eateries in Universal City, Texas at 2921 Pat Booker Road.